When the Son of Man comes in his glory and the angels with him, then he will sit on his glorious throne. Now, if you want, you can underline that term there, Son of Man. And you can note in your Bibles that this is not an if, it's a when. This is not a vague hope, it's a promise that is anchored in the eternal purposes of the living God. But what does he mean, and why are we highlighting Son of Man? Why does Jesus say Son of Man? By calling himself the Son of Man, Jesus is deliberately reaching back into the book of Daniel, which we're going to study together in the fall. And specifically, in Daniel chapter 7, there, God's servant Daniel sees a divine figure, the Messiah, the one that will save humanity from their sins, the snake crusher, if you will, from Genesis. This is Jesus, the one that is granted eternal authority and glory and dominion by God himself. The same Jesus who healed the sick, welcomed sinners, walked dusty roads. This is the Son of Man who will return as the reigning king before whom all nations will stand in front of. Now remember, the parables before this are important because in parables, Jesus speaks in symbols. But now he's getting tired because his disciples are a little slow. And he's saying, let me speak to you in a more clear way. Let me give you some language that's a little bit more direct. We talked about this a little bit in the 9 o'clock hour a couple weeks ago. But he's like, let me take something that's pixelated and make it high definition. He's saying bluntly that his return will be visible. He will return with authority. He will be attended by angels. He will be seated on the glorious throne. And in other words, Christ is declaring the rejected Messiah is the final judge. See that reality clearly. See that clearly. So what that means for us today is that a lot of you are watching things and you're looking at things and you're thinking, man, history is just totally drifting away from the living God. And that's not true. That is completely false because it reminds us that history is actually moving towards Christ. It's actually moving towards the Messiah. John chapter 5, verse 22 says, "For the Father judges no one, but has given all judgment to the Son." It's moving towards Christ. Acts chapter 17, verse 31 declares that he, God the Father, fixed a day on which he will judge the world in righteousness by a man whom he has appointed. That's Jesus. It's moving towards Jesus. See that reality clearly. When the Son of Man comes in his glory, the angels will come with him. He will sit on his glorious throne. History's moving to this point. Verse 32, before him will be gathered all nations. See the picture. He will separate people one from the other as a shepherd separates sheep from the goats. And he will place the sheep on his right, but the goats he will put on his left. Why in the world is Jesus fascinated with sheep and goats? I've always kind of wondered that, right? Well, here, when Jesus comes again, he gathers all the nation or all humanity. So if you want to write that in the text, you can. When it talks about the nations, he's talking about all of humanity, without exceptions, without exemptions. And he's gathering people one from another. Jesus